enthusiastic to introduce. From her performance at TEDx Amsterdam to being voted top 40 under 40 and to becoming a household name in Africa, Muthoni Ndonga is one extraordinary woman. And you know, other countries have their own iconic festivals. South Africa has Cape Town Jazz, there's Haifa in Zimbabwe, and Muthoni's drama queen has brought Blankets and Wine to East Africa. So ladies and gentlemen, with all her zeal and zest, let's give a warm round of applause to Muthoni Ndonga.
Muthoni drama queen.
Welcome, Muthoni. Thank you. Thank you. First, congratulations are in order for being voted to put in the 40 women by Business Daily.
Thank you, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. So tell us about that. What does it mean to you to be put in the 40? How did you find out, and what was your reaction when you found out?
How do I feel? How do I feel? How do I feel? I think it's a little gratifying. It's a little gratifying. It's a lot of work, and the hope is that Business Daily is able to talk to a certain constituency of people that we need. So business leaders, to understand that there's something important that is happening. It's kind of a validator of the work, of the effort of my team. It's kind of gratifying and very reassuring. So a few years ago, and they must have been at least 3, I was repainting my house with a friend of mine, and we were talking about like, who owns Kenya? In fact, I remember that's what we were talking about, who owns Kenya? And just like the way that series sometimes feels so bizarre, because these people who they're talking about, there's no access, like, where are you going to be with, like, Vimal Shah? Come on. Like, go to Nakumat, I don't know, or buy Bidco oil, I don't know. So, you know, we were talking about that and wondering how it would look if, you know, at some point it could all be young people who are doing their thing and then there's a widespread recognition. And apparently I told him, when I turn 30, I'll be in top 40 under 40. And so when it came, it was like, oh.
Have you just turned 30?
I turned 30 in September. So.
Well, congrats.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, yeah.
On our end, as guys are looking on, it's actually very inspiring. It's inspiring, so carry on.
Yay! Perfect.
So music is a really huge part of you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so let's start there.
Mm-hmm.
How did the love for music begin? Yeah. And how did you carry that on? And at what point did you decide you're going to make a career out of it?
Okay. So I don't think I noticed music until maybe I was in standard 6. And by notice, I mean that it's a thing. Because as far back as I remember, I was singing or I was dancing on top of the table, or so you know the way sometimes you're not conscious that you're breathing, but everyone's always breathing, but you're like not conscious, like inhale, exhale, you know, like that would drive you mad. So I think it was the same with music. It was just always there. I didn't think much of it until around, you know, standard 6. And then when I went to high school, there is a choir, and so in my mind it was like, naturally, if you're a person and you're alive, you have a voice, you can sing in the choir. So when I auditioned for the choir girl was like, hey, you have a nice voice. And I'm like, as opposed to like,
everyone else in the choir?
No, it's like, to me, there was no that's the first time that I realized that kumbe music is a thing, and if you have it, it's kind of special. Because to me, it's just like everybody has a voice, everybody can sing. And when you're kids, like all kids sing, like nursery rhymes, like you all sing, like it's just a thing that you do. But then as we become older, it's like people become sportsmen and mathematicians and I don't know what, and then music is there for those few kids who really love it, and then you keep at it, but you love it, but then, so what are you gonna do with music in Kenya, right? And then when I was in high school, my cousin had his first song on the radio, and I was like, yo, he's on the radio. My earring has committed suicide. And now my papers. This is a comedy of errors. Okay. Thanks a lot. Yeah, it's back. So, I think listening to my cousin on the radio, that really blew my mind. It's like, that's something really special. That's wonderful. The whole Kenya can hear your thoughts in your songs. But it still wasn't a thing. You know, it wasn't until after uni and a friend of mine, she was singing choruses for this rapper called Kirapt, he passed away. That time, she was dying of boredom of singing these hooks, these choruses, and she's like, I'm so bored. I just like want to write my own music. I'm like, yeah, write your own music. She's like, no, let's write. And I was like, what? Yeah, okay. Cool. So we started to write our own music, and then...
What did you used to write about back then?
I don't know, things. What do 19-year-old girls sing about? Problems, boys, such things. So, and then like deep things, leaving Africa, no. So, but it was extremely a lot of fun. And so that really was, we put together a show at our old school, and they gave us the venue and the facility, and then we convinced Big Ted to give us sound, stage, smoke screen, lights. It was such a production. We were Hollywood. And I was like, hey, yeah, we can do this. All our friends came, we bullied all our friends to tell their friends. So we sold out 3 nights in a row, and nobody knew who we were. We didn't have a name, we didn't have nothing. We were just these 2 girls with their songs. And so for me, that's really when after that weekend, I remember sitting on a tabletop, and it's like, you know, when you have a very clear moment in your head where you're like, I've started. Like, it turns out I started. I'm here, this is what I'm doing, and this is where I'm going. And that's how I ended up in the music career.
So at that point in time, before you actually realized that music could be something, what had been the plan for your life?
I was going to be a lawyer. Then I was going to go to Harvard to learn politics and economics and like be very clever. But on the side, dance in videos from Missy Elliott. And then, yeah, oh my. Then, then I went to Nairobi University instead for economics and political science. And after 6 weeks, I was cured of that disease. And thanks. So then it just didn't happen.
So how was that transition like from the serious life to music? How did the people in your life take it? What kind of measures did you have to take? Because you know, in this African setting, it's not music.
Yeah, there are no such things as measures. You just like fight, and then you agree to disagree, and then you fight, and then you fight everyone, you fight your mother, you fight your sister, you fight your friends, you just become a G. You're just there being angry at everybody. So you also become very hardworking. So the whole time I was at USIU, for example, I was on the dean's list. And so for me, that was also my way of like, yeah, I'm doing my thing, so leave me alone, right? So it's an easy way to convince parents. You've got to be very good at the thing that they're trying to that they think is important for you, because it is important. So that was what I did. And I fought a lot and I worked a lot. and that was my gimmick.
That's good, because some of us are in that place where we're fighting the norm. Yeah. So when did the entrepreneurial spirit kick in? At what point did you start actually making a business out of what you do?
I must say that from the first experience, we were in business. Because the first show that we did, like I said, we were nobody, and we were in a school hall. And we sold out, okay, granted, selling out meant 120 people per night. But we had 150 3 nights in a row. So that said to me that guerrilla marketing, that your networks, that's where your first people are going to come from. I learned like a basic rule of marketing, tell your friends. I learned that if you have it in your head, you have to implement it, which meant that, for example, I kept the band up one night, because we even had dancers. I'm telling you guys, I was Beyonce, it was everything. And we had the dancers working the whole night because they hadn't gotten the choreography right, and if it didn't look right, we would look foolish. And everybody was so pissed and they hated me. And then after the show, everyone was hugging me, thanks so much for pushing us. I'm like, yeah. And that's the way it looks. So it also taught me something about leadership. If you see it in your head, it's probably true. And you're never gonna know unless you try it. And then we tried it and I was like, it's true. You don't have to have a name, you don't have to have a background, you don't have to be nobody to start, just start. So then we made a profit. We used our network, we got things, the equipment, and our friends contributed their time. So we kept all the money that we made. We made 36,000 shillings. I think we made more when we were unknown on our first concert than some musicians I knew then. So I started, and I think from that experience, that's when I became an entrepreneur, because I understood that music is a product and people consume it. And so what you need to do is to find a way to get the product to the people. If you get the product to the people, people will consume it. Most people don't know what they want. Most people listen to what other people tell them. So you must tell other people so that other people can tell other people. Negotiating with a team, we had a budget of 3,000 shillings. 3,000 for a rehearsal period of 3 months.
What did that account for?
There was like some tea. During the big meetings, we'd have tea and like snacks.
Was it those days when bread was 11
No. No, but there was a lot of bread. Yo, we ate a lot of bread during that time. Bread is food. So yeah, that's when I became an entrepreneur. And I think that everything I have done has replicated that one event. Everything. It's just the scale that has increased. At my first venue, I had to wash the floor. I had to wash the hall. Now I pay a cleaning service to wash the venue afterwards. I'm doing exactly the same thing, it's just the scale has become bigger.
Right. And so, how did you get the inspiration, the motivation for Blankets&Wine? What sparked that?
So, that was really just a necessity. That was 100% necessity. We were doing a show. By that time, I think I'd been doing a show for 2 years at a venue in Westlands. And if I think about it, and also going by some notes I was making earlier when I was coming, that was my first failure. Because we set up a show that was really great and that initially was very exciting. The product was different. It was being packaged in an interesting way. The alternative kids had something cool to do on a Friday. But it wasn't being able to sustain itself outside my personal investment. So something wasn't happening with the marketing. So then we fixed the marketing. After we fixed the marketing, something wasn't happening with the venue because the space itself was not a beautiful place to be in. People didn't enjoy it after a while. It was smoky and it was, it was a little dingy. It wasn't the Westlands and there wasn't a lot of traffic and da-da-da-da-da. So then the venue wasn't working. And it's interesting because when you're in enterprise, I don't know who convinced us somewhere along the way that failure is a bad thing, whereas failure is inherently a part of the process. Like the way the breathing process is inhale and exhale, the entrepreneur process is win, lose, win, lose, win, lose, 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 win, lose, lose, win, lose. Epic. Burnout. Small win, stagnant. Small win, win, so forth and so on. So I couldn't accept that it wasn't working. And then now the venue owner was just a douchebag. It was just that guy from, I'm not paying you today, sorry. We're not paying for sound today, sorry. So eventually it's like, when I calculated the whole effort, my time, because by this time I had discovered that time is valuable, time is money. If I'm going to spend 20 hours in rehearsal to put on a production, the production must be able to make the cost of production plus pay my living expenses. This gig is not working. Outside of all the emotional aspects, the business, the bottom line was saying this gig is not working. But I wasn't willing to hear that the gig was not working. The hand of fate had to intervene. I had to have a guy who made it impossible to be at the venue anymore. And then I was like, okay, cool, this thing is not working, but I like this thing. So what are you gonna do different? And so I'm talking with my friends about that. And they say to me, make a list. We make a list of everything that's not working, and then write the opposite. So for me, my list was, it's at night, make it daytime. It's in Westlands. In fact, it was make a list of everything. Make a list of everything that compromises this, that is this thing. Like a full list of everything. So it's at night, it's there's too much traffic, so place of zero traffic. It's convenient, place of inconvenience. So then I made, and it was like, so then you have to do the direct opposite, 100% opposite of this. And then when you do the opposite, you have to expand it. Because if they're going to come all the way for you to wherever God knows you decide that this thing is going to be, you're going to be able to entertain them for 4 hours. No, okay, good. So you need some other entertainers. Could other people benefit from this platform? Yes, wonderful. So could you kill 2 birds with 1 stone? Yes. What is the added advantage of that situation? If you have 4 bands, it is likely that some people who have never watched you or don't even know about you will watch you because they came to watch their favorite band. So you came to watch Sauti Sol, but you caught Elani. Sorry, now you know a new band. Fantastic. I like that idea. Why? Because that idea is discovery. Okay, so who's going to come for this gig? It has to be somebody who's willing to do the opposite. So it told me exactly who my audience is going to be. The people who are willing to do the opposite are opposite kind of people. There are not that many in a society, so this is not a gig for 10,000 people. Okay? This is going to be a gig that is going to grow organically because people who are opposite are not told, they find out. Okay? These people, when they come, this has got to be opposite of everything that they normally experience. But these people who are opposite, that's exactly what they want. They want the opposite. Fantastic. So without needing to say anything to anybody, I had my audience clearly in my head. Where do opposite people go? So Classic 100 is the biggest 105. Classic 105 is the biggest radio station. Fantastic. Opposite people don't listen to classic. Opposite people generally don't listen to radio because radio is generally the same. So radio was not an important part of my marketing. It was only necessary to affirm the brand, not to bring people. Okay, so where will they be found? They will be found in pockets. Facebook was very young then, 2008. They will be found in pockets because alternative people cluster. There are not that many. So what are these pockets? What are the groups of people who talk? Start going through your friends' friends. Do you know this guy? Have you seen him somewhere? Oh, that's the guy with that cool hair. If he has cool hair, he's most likely opposite. Because not many people have cool hair. So he's most likely going to be in my audience. And so forth and so on. And I knew my audience to the last fault. I knew that they drink wine. And if they don't drink wine, they're going to drink wine that day because they are willing to participate. And when they hear that it's wine and it's in a spa and that there is bands, the idea will make perfect sense. And without pictures, they will understand what I am selling to them. Plus, they can bring their pets. Fantastic. Can this thing make business sense? How much will it cost me to do this thing? There's a budget. Fantastic. How many people do you think realistically you can get? What's your average number that you give now? 120. Cool. Assume you're able to get all 120 people. Divide your costs by that. That's your best case scenario. Less 30%. Cool. That's going to be how much you're going to charge everybody. So I have my price. Okay. Done. And that's how the Blankets&Wine was conceptualized all at once. So there is no point, for example, I've said, we now need to build a brand. I still struggle when I hear people say, you build a brand. I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? What is to build a brand? What is to build a brand? What does that mean? You've just got to see this thing and be clear and know what is true and what is not true for this space. What is real and what isn't. It's a very authentic thing. So when we say respect children, everybody knows what respect children is. That you don't need to express too much. A brand is self-teaching, it's self-expressing, it is in the spiritual and literal meaning. It is. So you can't make it, you can't build it. It is. So yeah, I feel like that was an extremely long answer.
But actually very fascinating how you've gone through the whole customer discovery process and very unique to you and what you've done. So along that way, what mistakes did you make?
I think, and this is a rookie mistake, and I think it's something that it's taken a long time to understand. I thought that at that moment that I could do blankets and also pursue a new sound and like a new musical thing that will require all my time and effort and energy. Because when things are new and you also try new things, the general thing that happens there is burnout and user fatigue. So I feel like I spread myself quite thin in the first years of Blankets. I think a thing I did that was a big mistake is it took me too long to get serious accounting going, because I would do it like my personal accounts on like some Excel sheet and like, yeah, you keep the receipts for like 2-3 months and then I don't know, this receipt is for which month and blah blah blah, and then it's 1 month to KRA and you're like, holy crap, where did the last 18 months go? And now you can't find anything, and then you have to go through endless amounts of files, of paperwork, and then it's still messy because there are some things that you know and some things that you don't know, and then your computer crashed, and then you lost them, blah, 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 and so forth and so on. So that was a big mistake. That's a rookie mistake, and I tell entrepreneurs I meet now, it's like, I don't care. Go hungry, but pay an accountant. Like, do it. Like, don't eat food, pay an accountant. Like, you will be very grateful for this piece of advice. Pay an accountant.
We hear you. Did you at any point have to raise funding for Blankets&Wine? How did you make it in the beginning?
Funding for blankets to start it, or funding to keep going? What do you mean?
To keep it going.
Okay. So to start it, I didn't need funding. I just used my personal savings, and I worked within my budget. The first time I raised funding was, again, like most rookie mistake entrepreneurs, was to pay a debt, because we decided after, I think, 3 editions of blankets, it's like, yes, we're now going to go to Diani. It'll be awesome. Gigs that are outside of Nairobi are expensive to put together. And so we overextended ourselves, and so we ended up owing money. And so that was the first time that I took a loan from someone to pay off the debt. So I fundraised. And it's an expensive mistake, because I was negotiating from a place of weakness. So I took money and gave away part of a company that I would have still given away, but at much better negotiated terms. So don't do that. Write it out. Debt is, like, you can't die of debt, I swear. And most people who you owe money, they just want you to keep doing business so that eventually they can get their money back. So, like, don't be afraid of people you owe money. It's nothing. Everybody, imagine Kamlesh Patni owes like a bank in the world somewhere money. Like, just think about that. And like, yeah, and it's true. And like, big business grows only on debt. Like, they don't take their good money and put it in risk. Business is risk. No, use the bank's money. At least the bank's money is insured. Worst case scenario, they'll sell your house. I don't know. So that was the first time I fundraised. And then the next time I fundraised was to grow it, which was a good, very good idea. And so we got KCB to sponsor the event to a tune of about 4 million shillings, and to be used over 4 events. So we had 1 million shillings per event to try and get like an artist. Then we negotiated in Kenya shillings. Rookie mistake. When you negotiate international contracts, you always negotiate in international currency. So that was the year that Kenyatta, Uhuru, President Mr. Uhuru Kenyatta now was in Treasury, and then the shilling fell, free fall. And I think we negotiated the contract when the shilling was at 70 something, 79. And by the time we were getting to the third event, the shilling was at 100 and something. So our money lost almost half its value. That was some shit time. Because we had already made a promise to the sponsor and the audience that there is going to be an artist. So you've got to make an artist come. So you've got to work 3 times as hard to get the money to make the banners work and to keep appearances, because blankets must have volume to Kutsi. And then he comes, and then you guys are happy, and you dance, and you enjoy yourselves, and you take pictures, and you put on Facebook. You get drunk, then you go home. And then we have to clean up the mess. Huh? But we sold you a dream, didn't we? And so, yeah, that was another time I fundraised, and that was a different experience with fundraising. The next time I fundraised, I negotiated with a multinational in US dollars, and I even made a contract that had an exit clause that basically meant we couldn't exit the project. And because they were trying to steal the contract from yet another multinational, you see now how we grow, eh?
Now negotiating from a position of power.
They asked me what did I want, and I pointed to the figure at the bottom, and they said, when would you like it? And now this was good. And then we brought in artists from Africa, and we did fun collaborative projects, and we had a damn good time. It was a party. It was a wonderful. We even brought an American dwelling blankets. And then we went to the after party venue and we said, listen, we have the hottest audience with the hottest spending power from the hottest party, and they want to continue getting drunk. So I'm gonna bring my party here and I'm going to own 20% of the bar. And you will give me drinks for VIP. The guy's like, yes. So we would make money by day and we would make money by night, and it was glorious. And then we made a wonderful cushion, and we were able to do a whole year without needing to borrow from anybody. And then Westgate happened. And the entertainment industry has been struggling since to get its act together, because the government is struggling to get their act together and people feel afraid. And then they woke up in the morning and they decided, we are now going to charge you VAT, whereas music was not a vatable good. It's now vatable, and we want all of our VAT now. Sorry, we don't care how this affects your bottom line. And then we had rain that wreaked havoc for months on end, and our event is outdoor. So there was a lot of money that was spent trying to survive those months. And then we did our 50th Blankets&Wine, and I said, we must celebrate this, and we're going to be grand, and we put on a festival that was delicious, and then we closed shop. And we're like, no way, we've got to figure out something new, something different. How do we change this equation? And so, just before we reopened our doors, we did another round of funding so that we could be able to start putting on quarterly concerts, big name concerts, good name concerts, and some festivals.
So quarterly as opposed to monthly?
No, so Blankets&Wine is monthly, but quarterly we give you a concert. And then once a year we throw a huge festival.
So is Blankets&Wine sustainable now?
It is.
And at what point did you decide to scale to the rest of East Africa? And what was that process like? Did you begin doing research there to understand what those people like, to find your alternative people in those places?
So, when we did Blankets the first time, so that was in November and then in December. And in January we took a break. That was January 2009. And I dreamt and I dreamt and I drew things and I wrote things. And at that point I decided that Blankets was going to be something that will be for the whole of Africa, and what it's going to look like and how it will be like nation and blah 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 blah. And in the dream, in the first 5 years, it had to touch East Africa. And so I think from the beginning, I was ready to go to Uganda. Like, I'm ready. But it was only, I think, after the third year of Blankets being a thing that the rest of East Africa started to see. They started to see the pictures. They started to hear stories. Their cousins who are in school here, who work here, come for Blankets. So then the offers started coming, people who thought that they would be interested in running the event, and I would check them out. And then a friend of ours moved to Kampala, so we went to visit just to check out the space, to look if they would have venues, to meet his friends, like who is going to come for Blankets, who are these people, do they exist, are they real? We found a few, felt like this could be something that works. It took us a whole year to be able to find a partner after that who we could trust to get the project off the ground. And then they did, and now Kampala is glorious. This last Sunday, Blankets in Nairobi was happening on the same day as Blankets in Kampala, and it's beautiful. If you look at the pictures coming from Nairobi and the pictures coming from Kampala, they look the same. Like, the people look the same, the vibe is the same, the fashion is the same. It's so mind-blowing. In fact, my colleague Shiro said it's trippy. It's like, who are these people? They're the same. And So East Africa is cool. We've been trying to get into Dar es Salaam. It's a very difficult market.
There's no alternatives there?
No, there's some alternatives, but it's difficult for other reasons, social reasons, just the way, the temperament of Tanzanian people, and also what the government expects, the rules of entry. So we're still trying to figure out Dar es Salaam, and my hope is that, within another 18 months we will be able to either figure out Arusha or Kigali, because I'm really interested in East Africa still.
And then you mentioned finding partners that you could trust in Uganda. How has the process been for you building a team around you? Because for anything to succeed, you need the right people working on it. So how do you build your team? What do you look for in people?
So, how do I build a team? I think I was a little bit more pragmatic in Uganda than I was with Nairobi. And so with Nairobi, my oldest colleague Justine, I think she just approached me. She was in uni, she was coming for blankets. I don't know, you have to ask her when you finish. She did her name tax is Justine Wanjiko. She has cool hair, you'll see her. And I think she's about there dying now. Okay. So yeah, I think she used to come, or someone introduced me, and then I was like, hey, she looks cool, she likes blankets. She's like, yeah, I could do this, I could help you more. Yeah, her friend, she was volunteering, her friend used to run like volunteers, and then she came and she's like, yeah, I could help you more. I was like, yeah, okay. And then that was it, and now we're kind of stuck together. And then the next round I wrote some GPs, and then I recruited some interns, and then we had an internship period. And then after that, we kept two interns who then now became members of the team, and who are really one left, one has remained and has continued, and is really like great at his job now. Boniface, hi. So he does communications, and he's really great because he's worked with the process. When we needed a business development manager, I used a recruiting agency because it's a fancy title, and because I knew he'd want to make sure I'm not messing with his head before he joined the team, Robert. So that's how I recruited for that, because the process had become a lot more refined. And then our last member of team just reached out. She had great qualifications, and the things that worked against her were actually perfect for her. So it was like, I like this contradiction, this can stay. So I used a bit of my instinct there. There is, I think, no real clear-cut way, from what I made to understand from other business leaders. It's like you can use agencies and you could read CVs and etc., but it'll only really come down, at least in my case, to two things. The first is, are you competent to do the thing that you say you want to do? Are you competent for it? And then, what do I feel about you? What does my gut say about you? And now thinking about it, I think I could add maybe 2 more points to that. I'm very clear what I need from you, and I get the sense that this could be much bigger for you than completing a task or a job, that this aligns with something about yourself. So my first colleague, for example, Justine, she looked so cool. She looked like a blanketer. Like, she just looked like a blanketer. But the more I talked to her, I discovered that she really loves music, and that she really, really loves fashion, and that she really, really, really loves culture. So it made sense for me knowing that she was competent to do the things that I want that needed to be done, and me being clear about what I needed her to do. It also felt like by working at Blankets, it could shape something fundamentally for her that aligns with her vision of the world and what it is that she sees and what it is that she could achieve. So who knows, maybe one day we'll have the most fantastic fashion brand, merchandise, spin-off company of Blankets, which she partly owns, because this thing could align with her grand vision for life. And so in that sense, sorry Justine, I'm over here oversharing your life, but I think for me this is how I recruit. It's like, what's your bigger plan? What's your end game? Are you here to pay a check, to pay your rent? What's happening here? And then in Kampala, I feel like it was 95% what I knew of their work. I knew their work, I knew their reputation. I knew their reputation, I knew somebody on the inside, I knew they were hardworking. But when I met with Biaru, the head of the Kampala team, my soul knew he's the guy. I'm like, this is the guy, he's the one. Like, no matter what, this guy has to do Blankets here. And I had never worked with him before, and what I was asking them to do was something completely different from anything they'd done before. But he's the kind of guy who's reckless enough and careful enough to do something that's never been done. Intuition.
Well, everything about what you're saying is so uniquely done. Yeah? It's really amazing. How do you balance your music career and Blankets&Wine? I know you mentioned in the beginning that you were struggling, but how is that now?
I feel like the guys who Muthoni Music are the ones who should answer that question. Sure, what do you think? Is there a balance? No? Yes, maybe? There is somewhat? Okay. Because for me, this is the eternal, this is the bane of my existence. It's like, I wake up every morning, I'm like, oh, Shanti, 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 please give me balance. Meditation, balance, balance. And I talk to myself, be balanced, and then I'm just not balanced. Like, when I'm happy, I'm insane. When I'm angry, I'm livid. I'm just like, God. Yeah, I just want to be like the Buddha, just calm, chilling, just being okay. If I'm broke, it's okay. Money means nothing. I'm happy. I'm not. Not yet. So I don't know about the balance. We'll see. I feel like maybe ask me that when I'm 40. You know the way they say life starts at 40? Yeah, let's see.
We'll do that again. We'll host you again. Do you have any mentors who informs your crazy thinking, we call it that? You must be someone who, I don't know, thinks like you.
No. I have a mentor who kind of divorced me. He's like, now I'm finished being a mentor. You're now mentored. And I'm like, no, what is that? So his name is David Morelli, and some of you may know David, some of you may not know David, but like, he did all the things that I'm trying to do in his other life. Like, you know, that kid who goes to school to become an accountant, but his one and only true love is music, and he's in the UK being a promoter for rock bands and like running African Night, and then comes back to Kenya and sets up a studio, boom, and they're the ones who produce Necessary Noise, Giddy Giddy Maji Maji. They have a record label, and then they put on like the biggest show I've ever seen in my whole life. It's like 15, 10, 25 times bigger than Blankets, than the biggest Blankets. It was called B&H, Benson and Hedges Africa concert. Oh, it was fantastic. And then his father passed away, and then he had to move into the family business, and then set up these training programs for music with the British Council, not just for music, but for the creative enterprise. And he still DJs, and he's 40-something, and he's that guy for Forever Young. He DJs at Mercury, and he's gracious about his He's gracious about the fact that he's not like 22, but like he has great energy and he's good company and he knows how to play good music. And he's run a huge family business, and then he's also done everything. So for me, it was important to have somebody who has such a story and who really knows how it feels to fail, who knows how it really feels to succeed, to be confused, to have life competing with life. So I chose my mentor, and then I proceeded to stalk him like a stalker. Like, I call him up, like, hi, yeah, the DVD you gave me, I watched it. I even have notes. When can I meet you? And it's like, next week? No, tomorrow. I'll be at your office tomorrow. And then I'm there, and then like, I was crazy. But when I told him I had this idea for Blankets&Wine, he's like, take me to the venue. And then I took him to the venue, and it was at Tayana Spa, sorry. And then we went. There's dormants at Muthoni, and we took a napkin and we did the first business plan. He's like, okay, this is what you need to do. And that's the first time I saw him excited about any idea that I had told him. And I was like, that's the one. And he came for this last blanket, and he took a whole bunch of pictures, and was like, exactly. So I have a mentor. Pick a mentor, and then stalk them furiously. Unless it's me, please don't stalk me furiously. And also maybe don't pick me. I think I'm too crazy to be a mentor.
There's probably someone here who's gonna stalk you after this. So what would you say to startups in here that are trying to break into the entertainment industry? What's that industry like? What works, what doesn't work? What are the gaps that actually need to be filled?
And I think, thank you for like phrasing the conversation that way, because every time I meet with startup people, especially tech startups, are there some tech startups in here?
And the majority
just raise my hands. I can see by your show of hands. Okay. Can I safely conclude 70% of the room is tech startups? Okay. Techies bore me to death. Techies, like I love them, and then also like I can just put them in a sufuria and cook them. Because techies are hell-bent on making the next thing. It's like, oh my god, it has to be like so different. It has to like be a remote that like wipes your ass and like tells you about. It's like, for whom? Whom are you creating these things for? It's like tech people create things for tech people. Yeah, like to show off, like, oh my god, that is so complicated. You're so dumb. No, don't do that. Stop it. Solve problems. Solve problems, and also don't solve imaginary problems. Like an app to locate my Muthoni Ndonga to deliver for me my Sukuma Wiki at my doorstep, my guy. I promise you that is not a problem. So just stop it. Stop it. Stop it. And then also don't come now with your app about how, oh my god, this app, it's like a ticketing system, you know, like PesaPal, but like now better. I'm like, talk to me. And then it's like, yeah, and then I hear it and I'm like, Now, you, PesaPal wannabe, first you know PesaPal has like 7 years of experience over you, so let's even assume that this PesaPal-like idea is good. My guy, they have 7 years of experience. Is this thing amazing? Will this thing make money automatically come out of someone's wallet into my ticket? No. Shut up. Go make another product. I would say to the tech community, the problems that exist in the music business are many. Some are solvable with technology. Build us a way to distribute our music that bypasses the goddamn Safaricom's and Airtels. Just do it. Just do it. Like, do it. Find a way. Find a way. Somebody break the code that is for M-Pesa. Like, just find a way to break that code. Find a way. Find a way that we can distribute that allows the artist to make the majority of the money from that food chain. Right now, music is being sold. You guys have like ringtones and callback tones and like endless tones, libraries, whatever. Artists get a fraction of the money. After the government takes its money, majority goes to the network carrier. So artists are still making money in the most pedestrian version, which is we do a gig, then we call you. That's why Blankets is hot. Because artists must perform. That's how they get paid. Find a way to distribute music. Like, just find a way. And then also, maybe you like people. Maybe your startup can be a marketing firm. See, you make that. Like, why are you going to build an app? Stop it. Like, talk to people. Find a way to talk to people. Artists don't know how to sell themselves. In fact, almost every single techie I have met cannot, in like 30 seconds flat, tell me what this thing does. It's always like, so you see this code? And then I'm like, no, I don't know. I don't see this code. I don't know what you're talking about. I had a fantastic discovery a few weeks ago. There's some techies working out of there. I have. You guys know those guys called Gigwapi? They have a fantastic idea. It's great. It's a way to bypass the consumer and still end up with product on social media. Fan-freaking-tastic. It's not even a new idea. It's not even a new idea. I've seen that idea already being used in Europe. It's great. They just made the technology more accessible. Sawa. They came in for a meeting. I gave them a meeting because one of my dearest, allies in the music business asked for the meeting. So I gave them the meeting. And they sat there and they couldn't explain to me what their app was. So I knew what their app could do better than they could explain to me. I guarantee you, had it not been for my friend, I would have concluded the meeting. Techies need marketers. Go make a startup that is for marketing technology to human beings. Explain to my mother what's up. There are many startups that could serve the music industry. Marketing is one of those. Distribution is one of those. Ticketing is one of those. But if you're bringing a ticketing solution, it must be better than the market leader. And therefore, as opposed to making it better, bring something completely new that it does. Solve a problem. Solve a problem. If you came to me and said, I will do, my ticketing app is completely integrated and I can eliminate the use of cash at the door forever, I'd be interested to listen to that. So, please don't all build apps for the music business.
Yes, we hear you. Techies, you've been liquid today. No more hackathons to build WhatsApps and stuff. So now I'd like to open it up to the audience. I'm sure you have questions for Muthoni.
Thank you for the share. My name is Oscar. I run a magazine called Businessman. You talked at some point about Westgate.
Hang on. You run a magazine?
Yeah, called Businessman.
Businessman.
Yeah.
Okay.
So at some point you talked about Westgate, VAT, rain, and all that. So basically, these are problems that any entrepreneur will make that they are out of your control. I want to explain some how you manage to take care of that. Because many of us, or many startups sitting here, will meet something that they had never planned for, and they never survive. So it's something you had planned before, that in case something that is out of your control comes, because 16% of VAT can be all you're making in profit. And that means, or if you're making 10% and now you're paying 16% of VAT, that means you're less by 6%.
You're right.
So these factors will meet everyone at some point in their life. If they will not come, they're coming. So when these guys meet things that are out of their control, how do they deal with that? Yeah.
So, I'll say make hay when it shines. So when it's going good, again, I know this sounds like such boring advice. When it's going good, plan for when it will be bad. But we plan like in case it will be bad, I promise you, I guarantee you it will be bad. I swear, it will be bad like the sky will fall. It will be bad. If you're an entrepreneur, thank you, that's the right word. It will be like the value of the shadow of death. So you're going to need guts. For when it's bad, you're going to need guts, you're going to need intelligence, you're going to need people skills, you're going to need somebody that you can call to bail you out, and when the person can't bail you out, you're going to need to invent a story to manufacture to give to somebody in the in-between time. But when it's good, have something aside. Expect the bad shit. It will come. Save. If you can't save, build a fantastic relationship with a bank, with a financer, somebody who knows you, who sees what you're doing, and who will ultimately be able to come through for you when you're going through a bad spot. Also, the bad spots are not forever. They also must go, like it'll be bad and then it'll stop being bad. I hope I helped. Cool.
Any other questions?
I want to ask a question if there are no questions. But someone has to be willing to answer. You can ask me something.
You know, you talked about at some point the bank came and gave $1 million for the next 4 concerts.
Yeah.
For some of the figures we've been given have been the public.
Yeah.
And many guys want to run an event, or even entrepreneurs here. They want to get sponsorships, they want to get big jobs. But I'm thinking, as you say, you know, like that app you made, many guys cannot negotiate that out. And I'm not looking at the presentation skill of the person. I'm looking, what is the business model you managed to put together for startup, for Blankets and Wine, to go to a bank and they give you 4 million, which, you know, my guys in the marketing can argue, if you put this in a newspaper, you know, in a newspaper advert or a TV advert, you know, it can give us more returns because we know how to measure TV, you know how to measure newspaper. And now negotiating skill many entrepreneurs lack. And I'm not looking at the personal presentation of I can speak better, I can make, it's a business model. So I want to understand, what is that business model that can attract 10, 16 million that you manage to attract, which is not a small amount. And it's not the conventional marketing of, you know, what is above the line or below the line.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, let me tell you what my experience with that has been, and then now extrapolate it for your experience. Whatever your startup is, making cupcakes, doing apps, I don't care. Startup is the same. All startups are the same. By the time we went to KCB to ask for money, we had been in business for 3 years. No, November, about 2 and some months, going on to 3 years, okay? It was not an overnight conversation. They came, they checked it out. Of course, they came in the coldest event that had like 155 people and like no media, and obviously, that's the one that they would come for, yeah? Why would they come for the ones in the summer that have like chilies in nice dresses? No, they came for the one that I considered the worst one. And it was self-evident, this idea, even when it looked its shabbiest, it was clear to anybody who walked in what was trying to be achieved. And then one of the guys who was running the division used to come to Blankets, and I'd see him all the time. So one day at Mercury, I'm like, I see you all the time at Blankets, who are you? It's like, oh, my name is blah, 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 and you start talking. It's, oh, okay, so I'm like, fantastic, you guys should think of doing this. So I did Inception, and then after like 5 months, he called and was like, yes, come. I think maybe some people in our office would be interested in talking to you. It wasn't overnight. And I think that the problem with the story that is told about me or about Blankets, everything is just made to sound so rosy, and like it just happened. And it's just like, oh, I was just walking, they give me millions. Where? Who has ever given you even a sock without being like, my money? No. But it was self-evident the thing that we were trying to do, and it aligned with the thing that they wanted to do. KCB wanted to come and sell home mortgages. And they wanted to sell mortgages because when they looked at the audience looked like people who are in the late 20s, early 30s, and even if they can't afford it now, that's the question that's starting to weigh on their mind. Where will I live? Do I have a home? And they wanted to be there before somebody else had the conversation with that audience. Also, they felt that if they grew with that audience, the day will come when they would be able to take the mortgage. So I didn't give them that agenda. They had their agenda, and they were looking for somebody who had created something that they could attach their agenda to. And so then, those are the best kind of relationships, when they're symbiotic. There is something that you have to offer, and that there is something that we have to offer them. But the question that I really, wanted to ask, and I'm really hoping that an entrepreneur in here could tell me, is, do you think that there is a distinction between the thing that you do, your business, and yourself? Is there a distinction? Mm-hmm. Thank you, Bogwa.
Personal opinion, I think there is, because there's the persona of Mbugua, and then there's a persona that my folks, the people we went to school with, know. And it will be for sure, you'll go into a place and guys say, I think you're unapproachable because of the way you just run your stuff. But then, the guy who knows you from your college days can never believe that Sasa umevaa suti. Now you're being serious for who? I mean, the way, and I remember there's a time, because I sit at the Nile, and some of the startups come and say, hey, you're too serious. And then I said, this is business. You want to hang out? Let's go hang out. And people shut up. So I think there has to be a distinction, because, I mean, you could be the consummate, quote unquote, playboy, but that's not the brand that the corporate world needs. So you have to have a distinct line about where the Mbugua business starts and where the Mbugua personal begins, and make a clear distinction about that, and make everyone who interacts with you to know that. That's not to say that you shouldn't do you should also do what you love, but in the same breath, sometimes you have to do what is boring to be able to fund you to do what you love wholeheartedly. Because if you love traveling, the best way to travel is not to travel on business, it's to travel on pleasure. So how do you get to do that? If you have to be a travel writer and stuff like that.
Okay, that's a really good insight. I see a hand.
I'd like to ask, after you thought of your business idea, what are the steps you did or had to do to become successful?
Okay, what are the steps? Okay, does somebody else have a question that sounds similar to that? Like, who had wanted to ask something in that vein? No? Okay. Consistency, that's really important, no matter what you're doing, consistently. People respect, they appreciate work, hard work, they see it. I think building the network and just understanding that, people are the same, they look different, but they're the same. People want to be happy. I sell happiness. People want to feel special because they are special. So I try to make my happiness a little bit special. And people reward special things. Think about how you treat your special pair of shoes. The way it's wiped nicely, displayed in your wardrobe. And then your normal shoes are just there at the door, kirakas, And I think just a combination of the universe colliding, because when you put it out there, the universe does respond, and it usually responds to your good and for your good. So a healthy dose of faith. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's the short answer. There was a question somewhere just behind Levy. So the reason I'm asking this is because I personally will have to run off immediately after this, because they're actually doing the dinner for like top 40 under 40 tonight. See how my life is, obviously. The one day. when I need to do something important is when also something important is needed. So please, if you have something to ask me, I know we were meant to have a session where we interact. My whole team is here, so if you want to ask things about Blankets and music experience, Justine, Boniface, and Shiro are here. So you can have the conversation. But if there's something that you had specifically hoped that you could ask me, please, I beg now. Just ask it. Do you have? Yeah? Ah, fantastic. Yes. What's your thought on that?
My thoughts are, I ran my business for 2 years and I was ready for this. If I was not working, it was not going on. And then for 2 years, it was on the road constantly. But when I stepped out, I realized when I step out, there's no business. For 2 years, and I learned there's no business and there's no me. For short while, I have one and the same.
Correct. I hear you. And that's so interesting because those are two entrepreneurs who have a completely different experience. My experience has been quite similar to, what's your name? Shiro. Yeah, my experience has been quite similar to Shiro, where it's an extension of my persona, it's an extension of my imagination, and therefore I am the walking, breathing, talking business. But it does get easier, Shiro. You're going to build a team, and your team are going to become your rock, and they will start to take away from you things that you had to carry by yourself. And then you'll find more and more space for you, and then you will start to see that your business is a part of you, but it's not you. It doesn't own you. It's like your hand. Like your hand doesn't own the body. It's a part of the hand, and it fulfills that. And then, because you're an entrepreneur, you're crazy, you're going to go and look for the next big adventure, and then you'll be exactly where you began. And that is the entrepreneur cycle. Okay? Nothing? No? No? Okay, there's a question here. Okay, this will be probably... Yes.
Okay, my question is, when
Your name is?
My name is Ricky.
Ricky, what do you do?
I am a digital marketer at Muthoni Ndonga, Saskatchewan.
That's wonderful. Congratulations. Fantastic. I love it. Thank you, marketers. Musicians need marketers.
Now, my question was, when you started Blankets&Wine, all these ideas like people could bring pets and all that, was it something you saw lacked in the market, or were they just ideas you accommodated so that people could, like the numbers could increase?
It was not a gimmick, and it was not a response to the market. Thank you. That's an extremely good question. You see, marketers, he's asked a very important question, which I hear entrepreneurs asking all the time. You're trying to find your business, and you're trying to respond to a need in the market. That's only one version of business, responding to a need in the market. Sometimes you create the need in the market. Entertainment is a fundamental human need. It's not like food, air, clothing, shelter. It's a different kind of need. Human beings need to be entertained. But musical products vary. So I wasn't responding to like, there's no place where I can take my pets and listen to music. It's gap. That's not what I was responding to. Like, that's not at all. I was responding to the need of other. Like, what else happens here? Right? And those things are very organic to other. Other has pets. I didn't even know there were that many pets in Nairobi, you guys. It was extremely surprising. By the time we banned pets, we had Rottweilers. We had people coming with their Rottweilers and saying, yeah, this is my pet. I'm like, a Rottweiler is not a pet, right? And if it is, like, you just need to go. And like, we lost clients from like, we had two Rottweilers at Blankets, two. two at the same time. Plus poodles, plus, can you imagine, dog shit everywhere? Forget it. I didn't even know people had that many pets, right? But to me, when I was dealing with other, that's something that I expect. I expect that they will have a pet. Sunday is the day they walk their dog. So bring your dog with you if you want. Okay. To the person who that thing is natural, it's not a gimmick, it's their normal life. And I think that's the thing that has constantly fascinated me about the market's response to blankets. The person who's carrying their pet dog probably even came with their mom, who's much older, and they drink wine together. That's their normal everyday life. They're not fronting. This is not a gimmick. They're not trying to look cool. So other people look at those images and they're like, I want this. So now I'm going to go and start my gig. In my gig, we're going to call it Shisha and Carpets. It's going to be like blankets, but now it's Shisha. And it's going to be for cool guys, like sunnies, and it's going to be like some poems. Yeah, it's just going to be different. It's not, and just shut up, and I wish you could recover all the hours of your life you're wasting. It's not organic, it's not true. I feel like businesses that survive, they've got to be true. They've got to be very fundamentally true to somebody. They've got to be very true to you who is doing the business. Very, very, very true. Very true. Right? So like if you truly love shoes, truly and really, I guarantee you'll be a multi-billionaire from shoes. That's it. You do the thing that you truly believe in, and that's truly you. You don't respond, you create. That's another version of doing life. Don't respond, create. Create the circumstance. It didn't exist, create. Now I meet all these kids who want to do events. They're like using blankets as a benchmark, and I'm like, shame on you. How foolish to limit your imagination to blankets. That was my creation. What do you want to create? What's important to you? What's the gap that you are feeling? Where does it hurt you? Where can you create something that looks just like you, feels like you, and is true to you? And because there are 7 billion people in the world, I bet you there's another 1,000 who are just like you. They will find you. That's just the way the universe works. We are not a benchmark, we're a version, we're an example. This is one way it could work. Present another idea about how entertainment could work. Then you have something wonderful and sustainable. Present another idea about how, I don't know, marketing could be done. Then you will build a marketing firm that will last for many years. I urge you to consider that idea as opposed to reacting. Why don't you create? Like, think what M-Pesa did for us. There was a banking system, it was inefficient. But nobody had tried to fix the banking system from the banking system. Safaricom is a mobile telephone company. They walked straight into banking and said, we're going to create something, create. People need their money now. Can we make that now? Done. Did you know there was a need for being able to send money from your phone to somebody else's phone? Facebook, people want to talk to each other, and people want to stop feeling lonely, and they want to communicate. Create. Stop reacting. As long as you're reacting, you're acting in response to somebody else's version of the world. And that person is limited by what they know and what they are willing to do. So they can't be a benchmark for your life. They can only be an example. Create. Solve problems. Do businesses that solve problems for people. When you solve people's problems, you have solved the problem of making money. If you fix a problem, the money will appear. Even the Red Cross has money. And you are an entrepreneur here, big broke. Solve problems. I feel like maybe the church has now ended. That is the end of the sermon.
Just one more question.
Oh, one more. Okay. That's the last one. Okay.
So, yes,
Your name?
I'm Brian.
Hi, Brian.
I'm a developer.
You're a developer.
So, I guess one of the things you've talked about is sort of creating solutions for problems. But now, in the process of creating solutions, you have to do something. So maybe you're not necessarily limited by your imagination. It's just what you come up with might exist. So how do you deal with the fact that you can't just create something out of it? You have to try something, even if it's a copy of Ticket Sasa or sort of a question.
Okay, I hear you. And I appreciate where you're coming from. And if I'm correct, you're saying, how do you, like, you just can't create something else, it's not there. You have to try something, and if it's a copy of like Ticket Sasa and etc. Yeah? Okay, that's called training. Before musicians start writing their own songs, they first sing other people's songs. You sing Whitney Houston, you sing Bach, you sing Brenda Fassie, you sing all those songs, right? You sing those songs. That's your training ground. That's your training ground. I guarantee you this. As long as you're a copy of somebody, there is no joy and there is no success. And the baton is long. So you'd rather be you. So as long as it's a copy of, it's not yet there. And you know that. It's not yet there. You use the copy of to learn. You use that to perfect a skill. You use that to discover something. But you don't get stuck at being a copy of something. You quickly move on to, but what does my world look like? And then you try. Most likely you fail. You keep trying. And then you keep trying at being yourself, and one day you found your rhythm.
All right. Thank you so much, Muthoni. Thank you so much, guys. Actually, my favorite picture of you from when I was talking to you, preparing for this, is one where you have drumsticks in your hair. Yeah, I think that's really, really cool.
Thank you.
So, as a token of appreciation from Startup Grind, really appreciate that you came.
I get drumsticks.
Got you a special set of drumsticks.
Oh, Startup Grind. Oh, they have my name. Oh my God, where's the photographer? We do that shady picture.